Hello friends, welcome back. One of the biggest challenges we face as genealogists is running into what we call a brick wall. That ancestor who seems to appear out of nowhere. No birth record, no parents, no clue where they came from. Now here's the truth. Many times, we hit a dead end not because the records don't exist, but because we're not asking the right questions. Today, I'm going to share with you the exact strategies I use, step by step, on how to reframe your genealogy questions so you can finally break through those walls. Why questions matter in genealogy. Research is more than just searching names. Genealogy is really about asking and answering questions. Think of it like detective work. If your question is too broad, like, who were John Smith's parents? You'll drown in irrelevant results. But if you ask a sharper, focused question, what records exist in New York City between 1870 and 1880 that list parents on a marriage certificate? Suddenly, you have a path to follow. That shift in questioning can make the difference between endless frustration and that aha breakthrough moment. My personal brick wall example. Let me share one of my own brick wall stories. I once struggled with my great-great-grandmother, Mary Ann. Every census showed her in the same county, but her birthplace kept changing. One census said Ireland, another said Scotland, and another simply said England. For months, I kept asking the wrong question. Where was Mary Ann born? That question was too big and too vague. I had to reframe it. Instead, I asked, when did Mary Ann first appear in U.S. records? What documents were created closest to her lifetime events, like marriage or children's births, that might mention her origins? What migration patterns were happening in that county during that decade? Once I broke the question down, I realized I was looking in the wrong place. A marriage record held the clue I needed, and it pointed me to the right parish overseas. The art of reframing questions. So how do you reframe your genealogy questions? Here's my process. 1. Start broad, then narrow. Begin with your big question, then slice it into smaller, researchable parts. Instead of who were his parents, ask, what records might have required him to name a parent? 2. Think in terms of time and place. Anchor your question to a specific location and time period. For example, are there surviving church baptism registers in County Cork between 1820 to 1830? 3. Use relationship-based questions. Sometimes, focusing on relatives gets you further. Instead of asking only about your ancestor, ask, did siblings or cousins leave better documentation that points back to the family? 4. Look at the gaps. When something is missing, ask, why isn't this record here? What else was happening in that town during this period that might explain it? Practical examples you can try. Let's try applying this. Say you're stuck on an immigrant ancestor. Instead of asking, where did my ancestor come from? Ask, what U.S. records would have required them to state a place of origin? Were there naturalization laws at the time that listed a birthplace? What church did immigrants from that country in this neighborhood typically attend? You'll notice the difference. It gives you concrete directions instead of a dead end. Tools and records to help refine your questions. When I refine my questions, I also match them to the right database or archive. Ancestry and MyHeritage are great for indexed U.S. and international records, but your question has to match the kind of records they have. Family Search has millions of digitized parish registers. If your question is, what church records exist for 1850s Germany? Family Search should be your first stop. Local archives or historical societies often hold the missing pieces. If your question involves land transfers or probate, you'll want county or parish level sources. Tips to keep your questions sharp. Here are my golden rules for sharpening genealogy questions. Be specific. Tie your question to a place, time, or event. Be realistic. Ask about what records exist, not just what you wish existed. Be flexible. If the answer isn't there, reframe the question again. Be curious. Sometimes the question, why would they have moved here, is just as valuable as where were they born? So the next time you feel stuck, pause and look at the questions you're asking. Chances are, the answer is out there. You just need to frame the question in a way that matches the records. That's how I've broken through some of my toughest brick walls, and I promise, it works. If you found these strategies helpful, let me know in the comments what brick wall ancestor you're struggling with. Maybe together we can brainstorm the right question for your case. And don't forget, subscribe for more genealogy tips, tutorials, and search secrets. Thanks for watching, and happy researching.